Today, we're going to talk about the art of maybe. Why removing yes and no from your Chinese vocabulary changes everything. When we examine the importance of face, or 面子, in China's face-driven culture, we discover that it permeates all Guanxi dependent networks, but most of us interpret these superficial niceties as a disingenuous way of communicating, rather than a purpose-driven necessity that can be incorporated into any winning China strategy. It's well known that our Western direct communication style may unintentionally offend our Chinese counterparts, whereas direct transparency is most often preferred in corporate America. And this contrast is where the rubber meets the road in China. An outside observer might wonder why these charades are necessary, but seasoned China veterans know the long-term benefits of these rituals for both relationships and the outcomes they seek. For both casual and serious Chinese language learners, we can upgrade our cross-cultural communication toolkit by examining different ways to say no and alternative ways to disagree. So begin by asking yourself, do you celebrate your direct communication style because it's worked for you in the past? Or will you adjust your approach because the when in Rome mantra applies to your journey into China? Are you ready to attempt an alternative way of communicating because you accept that a mindset shift is the surest path to true immersion into Chinese culture? Since you are here, let's explore how we express disagreement in Mandarin Chinese when in China. The simplest substitute for saying no is maybe. You've probably been on the other side of a maybe response when you've asked your Chinese counterpart a direct yes or no question, leaving you frustrated at not getting a direct answer. What you probably missed is, in the lexicon of spoken Chinese, the maybe you heard already tells you everything you need to know and can expect moving forward. And this happens to be the first mindset adjustment in the pragmatic face checklist of their thinking. It's on page 8 of a free download you can get by clicking the link. Here, we begin practicing being intentionally vague. But today, we're going to role play some common Chinese conversations. I've deconstructed 6 phrases that will bring intentional vagueness into focus, not as something to memorize, but as exercises to elevate your China game. Each phrase is a Mandarin Chinese alternative for our direct Western responses. Study these phrases, learn the cultural context, and practice speaking them purposefully and then naturally. Are you ready? 你准备好了吗? All right. So the first phrase is 也许. 也许. It translates into perhaps or maybe. So the situation might be your Chinese partner is pushing for a commitment to something that you don't think is viable. The details are fuzzy at best and you have serious concerns. Now, let's analyze our Western instincts and how we are likely to want to respond. All right, so the most direct is obviously we would just say no. We couldn't possibly agree to that. The softer version is, well, probably not, because this would be impossible to get approved. And of course, there's always a softer version of this, which is, I'm not quite sure this is the right direction. Can you walk me through the details? Now notice all the negative words that were spoken, even in the softest language that reflect your emotional and psychological resistance. No, we couldn't possibly agree. Well, probably not, because this would be impossible. to get approved. Even the softest response began with, "I'm not sure this is the right direction." So now let's analyze how your Chinese counterpart might respond in Mandarin. Okay, he or she might say, 也许我们可以找到一个好的解决方案。All right, let me say that again. 也许我们可以找到一个好的解决方案。It translates into perhaps we can discover a good solution and find a better way forward. In this response, 也许 is a pivot phrase that keeps the conversation moving in a positive direction without making any commitments. It signals goodwill. It protects your counterpart's face, and it leaves your position open. And notice that there are only positive words in the Chinese response. 也许我们可以 is we can 找到一个好的 a good 解决方案 solution to the request or the problem. The Chinese response is a non-answer that exemplifies the vagueness communication style preferred by your counterparts in China. Literally, you are speaking without saying anything, but you are conveying that more negotiations are needed before anything can proceed. So, is the psychology of positive and negative words beginning to make sense? Are you ready to go deeper? These practice phrases are just the beginning. If you're serious about communicating more effectively in China, the mindset shift behind these words matters as much as the words themselves. On my website, I've created a free 23-page PDF guide that breaks down Chinese thinking, 中国人的想法, and how its face-driven culture, Guanxi, and Chinese superstitions work together to explain their behavior and how best to cooperate with it. All right, leave me a comment and see you in the next video.